Welcome to the Epcotian Adventure,
a podcast where we'll talk about all things Disney,
including tips and tricks, festivals and favorites, and the very latest in news and reviews.
But we're still old enough to remember when the only Disney cruise in Florida showed you the backside of water.
This is episode 16, our trip aboard the Disney Wish.
Or, welcome aboard the first cruise line that's proud of its rodent population.
So now, please remain seated, keeping your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the podcast as we embark on our Epcotian adventure. Howdy, folks, and welcome to episode 16 of the Epcotian Adventure. I'm Rod.
And I'm Sue.
And today we're going to take a trip across the seas on the Disney Wish.
Yeah, all aboard, folks.
Woohoo! We've been talking about doing a Disney cruise for decades, actually.
Pretty much since the big red boat was a thing.
That's very true, actually, yes. When I worked there back in the day, I really wanted to do it. Didn't. When our niece worked back there in the day, we really wanted to do it and didn't. She did. But we did, finally, this last Thanksgiving. So we're going to go over a few things about the Disney cruise, including how we did our planning, what we ended up doing almost like as a plan B, actually, in this case, and our initial thoughts and reviews of everything from entertainment to Castaway Cay to the lounges to the food to the entertainment. I love the entertainment. I said it twice, I know. But when you get to see Minnie dressed up as a pirate, come on.
I know, right? Does it get better?
So we're coming at this with the perspective of being Disney adults and lovers of Disney World and Disneyland and all things Disney, and how that is interpreted on the Disney Cruise Line from our perspective. So let's dive right in. Sue, what's the first thing we were going to talk about today?
Yeah, so the very first thing, we're going to back all the way up and talk about booking the cruise and using the app pre-cruise.
So when you first start paying for the cruise and get ready for the cruise, you're able to download the Disney Cruise app. On the app, oddly enough, you can't really look at the ship. You can look at what things are going to be happening on the cruise that you're on. So the app itself is, I think, our first little point of contention with the Disney Wish.
We have some thoughts about the app. We'll get to those later.
Yeah, it really needs a little work. But as far as getting ready for the cruise, once you have made your final payment, you're able to go ahead and log in and get ready for the cruise by signing up for excursions and for things like floaties even on Castaway Cay.
Yeah, and you'll also be assigned a dining time. So you'll either be assigned early or late. We'll get more into that later as we progress, but you're also able to change that in the app if you get assigned the one that you don't want.
We were able to also go ahead and put in all of our pre-boarding information. We were able to put in our passport information. We were able to put in all of the address information, all of our personal information that we needed, so that by the time we were ready to cruise, all we had was a QR code, our passport, and that's really all we needed to get on the cruise ship.
It was very convenient. And the other thing I wanted to make sure that we specify is that when you check in for your cruise, you can do that ahead of time, of course. And when you check in, it determines the time when you can board. So there's no rush to do it, but the earlier you do that check-in process on your app, the sooner you can get on the boat, which, as if you've ever cruised before, you know is a plus.
For us, we wanted to get on as early as possible. We were staying at the Hyatt Regency at MCO, at Orlando International, and then we were able to take a shuttle directly from there to Cape Canaveral, or to Port Canaveral, and hop aboard the boat. What that allowed us to do also is get an early cruise time at the point where we could actually go ahead and sign in for our cruise and get everything put in for our passport and all that. I did that as early as possible, literally midnight on the first day available, and we were given cruise number, I think we were 10?
Yeah, we were. I don't remember the exact number, but it was really early. So we were able to board very early, which was really, really nice. Yeah,
it allowed us to get a shuttle directly from Orlando International to the cruise dock, and I think we left the cruise dock at about 9:30.
Yeah, and even that process was really super easy. Like, we just went down to Starbucks in the airport there, grabbed a breakfast sandwich and a cup of coffee to get us going.
I do like staying at the Hyatt Regency at Orlando pre-cruise. You can actually drop your luggage off at the desk there at the hotel. they will take it down and get it aboard the bus for you. So you don't even have to have your luggage with you when you're waiting for the shuttle. It's very nice.
It was so nice. And from the shuttle, they put it directly into the boat, and you don't see your luggage again until you're in your room.
One thing to note about Cape Canaveral is if you do drive and park there, the traffic can back up on the causeway on 528 coming off of 95, or coming out of Orlando on 528. It can back up, so make sure that you do give yourself plenty of time to drive in and park if you are planning to go. It is a large, very large cruise port and only has one off-ramp off of the highway. So be aware of that. That's one reason we take the shuttles when we can. We just like to leave the driving to them.
And it was super convenient. I know we've said that, but I'm just going to say it again because it was very easy access. It was super non-stress. So you're already starting the process of unwinding because you're not having to keep track of all that luggage or get yourself there. It's just really nice. It starts the vacation a little bit earlier.
One thing that you need to be aware of is that Cape Canaveral, Port Canaveral, is not in Orlando. So if you do want to fly into the closest airport, your closest airport is actually Melbourne International. So American or Sun Country might be a good way to get in. But, and take this to heart, fly in the day before. You are going to save yourself a lot of grief and a lot of stress, especially right now with all of the cancellations that have been happening over the last couple of years. Fly in the day before and stay in either Melbourne or Canaveral. There's hotels not too far, actually, from the cruise port that do cruise packages and will actually take you to your cruise that next morning. Or, like we did, stay at Orlando International. There are a lot more and cheaper flights into MCO than there are into the other airports surrounding Canaveral. And the shuttle gets you there in just about an hour.
Yeah, and I'm just going to reiterate that because I think a lot of people look at that as like an extra PTO day. I'm just going to say we have a very good family friend who shall remain nameless, who the last time we were planning a family cruise asked me the question, what is the last possible moment I can get on the boat? No. Just no.
Don't you do it.
That's not only extra stress on you, that's extra stress on everyone you're traveling with. Just don't do that to yourself. Don't do that to your boarding party. Get yourself there the night before.
And the cruise ship will not wait for you. If you're not on board when the horn blows, sayonara. We'll see you at the next port.
Or not.
You're spending the trip at Disney World instead.
So, which is not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing.
Not exactly what you planned.
No.
Don't make that your plan B. Okay, I think we harped on that enough, but get there the night before. So, yeah, let's talk about the port and the terminal, because Disney does have its own dedicated terminal.
They do. It's very Disney-esque. It feels like an extension of Walt Disney World in the fact that everything is Mickey-shaped. Everything is run by cast members, except for customs. We'll talk about that in a moment.
I mean, that's just customs. Let's just talk about it, because here we are.
The TSA guy, oh my gosh.
He could not smile to save his life. It's not like we were pulling a Lucy at Buckingham Palace moment or anything, trying to get him to laugh. But this guy could not smile. He was so over life in general.
Yeah, did not tend to be a good representative for the Disney Cruise Lines.
No.
He was part of TSA, not of the cruise lines, I will say that.
But because we had that handy QR code, we only had to deal with him for a moment, and then when we were through and up the escalator and into the magic of Disney.
Yeah,
so.
It was something like, what do you want? Boop. Okay, go on in.
That was
and then from
it.
there, everything was fantastic. Here's one thing I will let you know is in the terminal, if there's any slowdown, though, or if you get there well ahead of your cruise number, there is no food except for vending machines in that terminal.
Disney, are you listening?
Yeah, Disney, if you're listening, and if Port Canaveral allows you, putting a little kiosk shop in there.
And by kiosk, he means bar.
Bar would be good, but just having some place where you can pre-purchase Disney merchandise and grab-and-go snacks would actually be a really good thing. Now, again, the ports run very differently than theme parks in that they have very strict regulations on what's allowed to be sold and what's not allowed to be sold by the cruise lines and their vendors.
And you're not meant to be spending a lot of time in this place. So there's like a scale model of the ship, there's some photo ops, you can walk outside on the balcony and see the actual ship that you're about to board, which I highly recommend doing because it's a pretty cool sight.
It is. It's really cool.
We ended up spending probably about 45 minutes in there,
And about $45 on snacks.
Just from the vending
machines. They do
but
take
it would have been
cards.
nice to grab, a pina colada to start the drink. To start the drinking.
Yeah.
To start the cruise.
No, you were right to start the drinking. But if you are bringing kids, bring snacks. Because you never know how long it will take you to get on the ship, even if you're there right as when you think your number is going to get called. Yes. There are always going to be some slowdowns because it's just like getting on an airplane. Somebody could trip. Somebody could say, hey, we need to stop the line because ... So make sure you have some snacks before you get to the cruise terminal. If you are getting on early, have breakfast before you leave the airport because you will not be eating until you get on board and get up to Marceline.
So, on to embarkation then.
It feels very Disney from the minute you get there.
Yes.
Walking through the Mickey Mouse-shaped portal, so to speak, to get on board the ship is kind of your first taste of, oh my gosh, this is real.
Yes, and then when you get up to the top of the gangway and there's people there, cast members who are waiting to greet you, they ask for your family's name, they have you stand back for a second, and they announce your family name. It's so fun. It totally makes you feel like a VIP from the moment you step on board.
We saw this on video ahead of time, but I can't tell you how magical it was to have them go, and now, Rod and Sue! And it was just...
It was very cool.
It was really, really cool.
And the lobby is gorgeous. It is absolutely gorgeous. We should have said from the beginning, this was our first Disney cruise. We have only cruised on the Wish. So I do hear that it is a different lobby experience from the other ships. So there's a stage where they do some welcoming moments with some of the characters. There's a balcony up top where you're being greeted. We were greeted by, I think, Tiana and Naveen were up there waving at us. Mm-hmm. They switch out who's welcoming you, but it's really, really special. It just makes for a really cool way to start your cruise.
And every few minutes, the fairy godmother or one of her representatives will come out on the stage with her wand, or their wand, depending on who it is, and go through a whole bibbidi-bobbidi-boo moment with the chandelier. Even as an adult, puts you in the right mood for the cruise.
It does. It sets up all the magic that's to come. It's a really cool thing. The other thing that each of the Disney cruises has is they have their own dedicated statue for each of the ships. For the Wish, it is Cinderella.
Let's be honest, it's possessed Cinderella.
It's possessed Cinderella. I don't know if you've seen her or if you've seen her close up, but she's a little frightening.
Don't look into the eyes. You think Mara's eyes are scary. Cindy's eyes on here are intense.
Yeah, she's a little frightening.
Or stoned. I'm not sure which. I don't know.
From a distance, she's very magical and very elegant and very royal. But up close, she's a little scary. But also, I want to mention, don't miss looking down where she's standing, because you'll see Lucifer with his little teacup there. And under Cindy's dress, at the very, very back, there's that edge that's lifted up, and Jacques and Gus are under there that Lucifer's waiting to catch in his teacup.
That was one of the first things we noticed when we got on board the Disney Wish, is all of the detail that has gone into this boat. The lighting inside of the lobby area where the stage is actually recessed into the panels, and the panels actually open and close as needed to make the lighting invisible when it's not on.
And all around the lobby, in the windows, like on the outside of the storefront sort of place, if you can picture that, are details from the boat, like actual drawings, conceptual art, actual swatches of fabric and tile, and how the boat was created. It's really, really cool. It's definitely worth taking a few minutes and looking at that when you first board, or any time during the cruise, because you'll be through that lobby many, many times.
Sue said you feel like a VIP when you get on board, and you really do. This feels like a very upscale cruise compared to other cruise lines. Our family as a group has cruised on Princess, Carnival, NCL, and Royal Caribbean, and by far this is the most luxurious of the cruise lines, I believe, that I've been on, or I think I can speak for Sue in this case, that we've been on.
Yes, and I don't know if that's because it was brand new, because it's the inaugural year. Maybe that had something to do with it as well. But it really, really did feel like we were underdressed the entire time.
Yeah. I felt like we were staying at the Grand Floridian in flip-flops and shorts.
Right.
Yeah. That is one thing, is the boat you will find, and I've heard this about all of the Disney Cruise Line ships, is that they really do feel like an extension of the Disney theme parks.
Yes, but without as many stressors. Because you can find a spot to sit down and just look at the ocean anytime you want. It's...
Dare I say magical.
Magical.
It is magical.
It is, and it's very, very relaxing. But there's also a ton to do, so let's start talking about that.
Let's dive right in.
Oh,
see, when I dive, because
see
it's ocean.
what you did there.
Okay.
You see?
Yeah.
See? Okay.
My Jungle Cruise jokes are getting old, aren't they?
Getting?
Oh, hey.
We're going to move on to the sail away party.
Yeah, the sail away party happens on every boat or every ship that you'll ever go on. Any cruise line will have a sail away party. Carnival does it up with booze and loud music. Thank heavens, Disney does not. Disney does it right. Now, again, this is geared for families with kids. We as Disney adults are not going to be the ones down front with our pom-poms going, yay, Disney, hey, Mickey, woohoo!
I mean, we might.
But we
didn't.
We didn't. We stood back and actually stayed on a higher level and watched the families have fun.
But there is a whole stage show, song and dance, characters, the whole 9 yards that happens, and it is so cute.
We were able to stay up a few decks, watch the entire show with a nice adult beverage in our hand, and see all the kids having fun. And again, coming from a cast member perspective, which Sue and I are, or were, it's part of the magic to watch this happen through a kid's eyes.
Yes.
And to be able to watch children with their parents go through the very first time seeing all of the Disney magic on board the ship was amazing. It was absolutely amazing.
And then, of course, at the end, they do the countdown, and they blow the ship whistle, or the ship's horn, I guess, which is the When You Wish Upon a Star.
I'm not going to say I teared up, but I had been eating onions and I had some allergies just when that happened.
I teared up.
Yeah, it's again,
magical.
if you're a Disney adult, you're going to be moved by the first time you hear that horn play When You Wish Upon a Star.
It's really cool.
You cannot help but be moved.
So from there, let's talk about the room a little bit. We had a veranda midship room, specifically 8062, if you want to look on a map.
We purposely picked that room because it has an extended balcony. If you're looking at the map of the Disney ships, you'll notice that about 2 or 3 locations midship on both sides have what looks like a little extended, almost round bubble in a couple places. If you can get one of those balconies for not too much more, because they are a little higher class, having the extended balcony, oh, wow.
There was so much room out there.
So much room. We could have actually put a nice little hammock out there.
I think they would have frowned on that.
They would have frowned.
But there was room for it.
There was room for it. There was plenty of room to stretch out, though, which is unusual for balconies on cruise ships. If you've cruised before, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and we did have breakfast out there several times. And if you've never cruised before and you think, I'm not going to be in my room that much, I don't need a balcony, you are incorrect. You do need a balcony. One of the things that we knew ahead of time because we'd done our research, but I still don't quite understand. Every other cruise line that we've cruised has the double bed, but you're able to split it into 2 single beds. Now, we travel a lot together, and because we are brother and sister, we split the beds. Disney does not offer that luxury.
It was very odd to me. I've never seen that happen on any of our cruise lines. It made it a little more cumbersome in that one of us had to sleep on the pull-out. As opposed
the couch was very, very comfy. I took the pull-out. I volunteered. It was very comfortable. It's not just kid size. I fit very comfortably on there. And they made it up for me every single night. We did ask them to do that because we're 2 people traveling in a room that normally would be a married couple. So we had to specify, please make up the couch for us. No, we're not fighting. So,
right.
So, if that's your situation as well, just make sure that you ask them to do that, and they happily did that for us. There's also rooms that have a pull down if you have a third person or a child with you, where it can pull down from the ceiling, and there's an extra bunk bed up there.
It's just one thing that you do have to be aware of, because if you are traveling with a friend or a companion who is not your significant other or your partner, you really do need to be aware that the numbers that they show for the room, as far as how many people it will sleep, differs on this boat or on these boats because of that fact that you cannot split the main bed into 2.
Some of the things that we loved about the room, besides the extra balcony, is that there's a split bath. So this is unique to Disney Cruise Lines as well, at least in our experience. There's one bathroom that has the shower that has a bathtub, which is nice.
I know, a bathtub.
And a sink.
And it's not a suite, and it had a bathtub.
Yeah, that was unusual.
Was cool.
And then the other bathroom, whole separate door, has the toilet and another sink in there.
Yeah, just getting ready for dinner, you had 2 sinks in 2 areas, so it was actually very efficient.
Extremely.
As a design. Also, they had under the bed storage for your luggage. You could actually slip the stuff under the bed.
One of the things that we loved as well is that people decorate their doors. We had seen this before on some videos, but Disney Cruise Lines is unique in this, in that people who are traveling Disney Cruise Lines take their Disney love very seriously, and you'll see magnets on doors.
Now, just be aware that you cannot bring certain things. You cannot tape anything to the doors. You can't put the temporary hooks and hang things on your doors. And you cannot use any lights that are non-battery powered, so nothing that's going to plug in on the doors. So they have to be something like a magnet or something that is magnetized to be on the door. And the whole door is metal, so it's easy enough to hang something on there. And we had people that treated them just like a refrigerator. There were magnets everywhere. The best part about that is you can buy them on board, or, like Sue did,
you can get them on Etsy. So I found a shop on Etsy. There's tons of them. I found one that I really liked. We actually used 2 different shops to do 2 different types of magnets, but we got personalized ones that had our favorite characters on them and were Mickey shaped. We got ones, we happened to be on a Christmas cruise, so we got some Christmas Disney's magnets. But everybody does this. It was very rare to see a naked door.
When you walked out of the door, you ran right into Disney immediately. Now, in Florida, if you're at the theme parks, you walk out the door and you run into a wall of heat on board the cruise ship. You walk out the door and you run into your first Disney music. Well, not the first Disney music. Disney music all over the place. But every morning as you get up and walk out your door, you are immediately greeted by subtle Disney music in the hall. And again, it was one of those things that I had not anticipated getting on board this boat. But wow, did that just start your day off right.
It really does. And it's, like Rod said, it's very subtle. It's not something that you're like blasted with. If you're not a huge Disney fan and you're just traveling because your family is, it's not going to beat you over the head with it.
Yeah, it's not step in time at 6 in the morning. That would be really rude.
Yeah, a little bit. But it's just very subtle background music, and it just makes you smile as you walk down the hall. Love that. So let's talk a little bit about one of our favorite things, which is food.
Booze. Oh, no. Food.
We'll get to the booze. But first, the food. So, like I said earlier, you're going to choose, or you're going to be assigned an early or a late rotational dining. If you're on the early, you're always on the early. If you're on the late, you're always on the late. You don't switch it up. We were assigned the late. We like to eat a little earlier, so we switched to the earlier. Then we realized all the kids are going to be eating at the earlier.
Every child eats early.
Yes, so we switched back to the late dining, and it worked fine for us.
Part of the fact, too, is we would like to have our own table when we go, and Disney will actually accommodate that. If you ask them early enough or request it early enough, you can get a 2-top.
So let's just go restaurant by restaurant. It is rotational dining, so you sort of move in groups or herds.
So they actually have 3 themed dining experiences on each boat.
But let's start with how we did it, which was our first evening was we were assigned to the Worlds of Marvel restaurant. Mm-hmm. And this was the one we were actually the least excited about. There's a show that happens. It's all video based because it's actually Ant-Man and the Wasp. It's super fun. It's so cute. Lots and lots of cameos. You're going to see so many Marvel characters. It's a little more geared toward kids, I would say.
Yeah, it's not PG-13. It's more G-rated than the films are. And a lot of the Marvel world does show up on video in the restaurant. And there's some interactivity. I'm not going to give it away, but there's some interactivity on your table as well with what happens on the screens. So it's fun.
It was a lot more fun than I anticipated it being.
And I expected the food to be like the Pym Test Kitchen or something like that. And it really actually was much more upscale in nature with the food.
Yeah, the menu is actually based on different areas of the world based on where the Marvel characters are from. So it's really cuisine from all over the world.
So on the second night, we were invited to Arendelle for Princess Anna and Kristoff's
their engagement party. And they thought to invite us.
And they invited Oaken to be the person that coordinated everything. So as you first walk in, he comes waddling up on stage. Yoo-hoo!
And everybody responds.
Yoo-hoo! Oh, my heavens. It was so much fun. If you even barely like Frozen or Frozen 2, you're going to love this show.
It's very, very clever. It's very, very interactive. In a good way. They're not hauling people up on stage. It's just really, really fun. And it's theater in the round, so tables are all around the stage. They do a great job of interacting with the audience. Even Olaf makes an appearance. The
menu still was themed after the Scandinavian Isles, I guess is the best way to put that.
Yes, absolutely. To fit the theming of the Frozen.
Exactly.
But I do want to mention that during the intermission time, the characters make the rounds. They come around to every single table. They will talk to you. They will comment on what you're eating. They will interact with you and make jokes, ask how you're doing. You can see Anna's engagement ring. It's very, very fun. So even if you're not near the stage, you can still hear and see bits of the show, and you will still get to interact with those characters. And we should say that with the rotational dining, your serving staff travels with you. So the ones that you have at Marvel are the same ones that you have at Arendelle, are the same ones that you have at 1923.
So 1923 was what we did on night number 3. 1923, like I said, is probably the least themed, but theme-wise, it feels like Waltz at Disneyland Paris on Main Street, or maybe the Plaza. It's more of an upscale feel restaurant-type restaurant, I guess is the way to put it.
And 1923 is the year that the Walt Disney Company was founded, so one half of the restaurant is themed for Walt, and the other half is themed for Roy. Because it's the 20s, the whole feel of the restaurant is very old-school Hollywood. 1920s Hollywood, you'll see people who actually dress up in flapper costumes and old-school Hollywood and do the whole pin curls in the hair, and it's pretty cool.
And it was a very traditional feeling cruise dinner, in my opinion. But the surroundings made it feel very upscale as well. And every time you sat down, they had a starter plate. In 1923, it had the 1923 logo on it, though, and then they take that away and bring your first plate. And it felt like a very, very upscale Disney resort type of meal. And I really appreciated that being on board the Disney Cruise Line.
And we should mention that because I'm someone who likes to take pictures of everything along the way. And that 1923 charger plate is going to go away very quickly on this experience. So if you want a photo of that one, take it quickly. So those were the main dining rooms that we experienced.
You do have the option of changing one of your nights or even two of your nights to go to either Palo Steakhouse or Enchanté. Those are Italian and French-inspired cuisine.
And those are the upcharge restaurants, so you will pay a fee for those.
Palo also does a paid-for brunch.
Yes.
We tried to get into that and did not.
So there are other locations to eat. If you've ever been on a cruise, you know there is no lack of food. Some of the other locations where you can grab a bite. We also have the Marceline Marketplace, which is the buffet. It was a really good selection. Things were really fresh. They did the thing, I don't know if this is always or just because of coming out of the COVID period, but you would select what you want and they would serve it for you. Good selection all around. However,
Disney, are you listening? Why is it that the buffet closed right after early lunch and
really
never
early.
Reopened? What on earth?
Here's one of the issues that we had. Not only did it close at odd hours and not seem to have any interest in reopening, but that meant that you couldn't replace dinner with it. You couldn't do a night where you just have a casual dinner at the buffet like you can on other cruise lines. But it also never told you in the app the hours. So we just had to kind of wander up there and see if they were open. Nope, not open. Okay, gonna go over here now. The app has hours for none of the restaurants or other locations. It was very, very odd. So Disney, are you listening?
Fix the app, please.
Yes, please. We ran into the same thing with Joyful Sweets, which is the candy shop. And that's where you can find, it's again an upcharge for the candy shop, but they have sweets, cupcakes, and little chocolate balls that you break apart and there's more candy inside. And that's where you can get gelato. Which we actually did.
Gelato!
We actually did that, and it was very good. I don't know that I would do it again, because I really do like the soft serve that is included.
The soft serve is a little odd, too. Now, that's going to be up at the pool area.
Yes, that's where you're going to find Mickey and Friends Festival of Foods. And that includes Mickey's Smokestack Barbecue, Donald's Cantina, Daisy's Pizza Pies, Goofy's Grill, and Sweet Minnie's Ice Cream.
So at Sweet Minnie's Ice Cream, you can get that nonstop soft serve like you can on any other boat anywhere in the world. But it's only open certain hours, and they do it for you. Again, this probably is something that came out of COVID. I actually enjoyed this simply because I've seen the machines and how sticky and weird they get after a very short time. It is actually very, I thought, upscale and nice to have them hand you a cone perfectly prepared.
The other things worth calling out from this section, from Goofy's Grill, the chicken tenders. I don't know why Disney chicken tenders are so good, but these things were magical.
Believe the hype.
Oh my gosh, we were burning our fingers trying to eat them because they were so good, and we knew we were burning ourselves, and we didn't care.
And here's a little fun fact. Get the chicken tenders, and then go around to the back and grab the barbecue sauce from Mickey's Smokestack Barbecue. Wow.
There's a whole line of barbecue sauces that you can try. You can also go over to Donald's Cantina and get some of the salsas and sauces from there. So there's a whole array of options for these chicken tenders.
The nice thing about these poolside restaurants is they do stay open most of the day. They do open for early lunch, and then they stay open as late as the pool hours usually, and even a little later. I think
most
some of
them closed early, but the pizza one stayed open.
Yeah, the pizza one stayed open. I think the burgers also stayed open longer, but the cantina and the smokehouse would close down just after dinner.
Another thing worth calling out is at Donald's Cantina, you can get a taco bowl. One thing that you couldn't get, which I thought was so weird, is they don't have chips.
Yeah, no salsa
place.
and chips.
So I just wanted to get some chips and salsa and sit down in the sun for a little bit. You can't. There's no chips. It's the weirdest thing. Some of the other places you can grab a bite are, there's 2 different coffee bars. The Enchanted Sword on deck 5 and the Wishing Star on deck 4. They're pretty much the same bar. They're just on a little corner, kind of off the balcony, or off the main lobby, but just up the next 2 levels. Both very, very good. If you've never been on a Disney cruise, you may not know, but the salted caramel coconut latte is a thing. And oh my gosh, it might sound weird. Trust us, try it.
The nice thing, too, is both have boozy coffees. So
also true.
You can start your day drinking early with your coffee.
We should also say that unlike other cruise lines, every other cruise line we've ever been on, sodas are included.
Yeah, that was actually very nice. They just had Coke machines around the deck up top, so you could just grab a glass and just get your own soda without having to go to a bar.
And pay for it.
I appreciated this with all of the kids on board. I don't like it when a kid needs to go to a bar to get a can of soda.
Right.
So that bothers me on Carnival. That bothers me on Princess. It is very nice that you can just go up to a soda machine and grab a soda.
And they're not all the same. So if you like a particular thing, take a look around, because I found a couple that had ginger ale. The next thing we're going to talk about is the lounges. So we didn't go to all of them. We're just going to talk about the couple that we did experience.
I'm just going to say this out front. Nightingales. Let's talk about why we enjoyed Nightingales.
Okay.
We ran across a piano player. His name is Matt.
Matt Greenkey. And you can follow him on Facebook. He posts things once in a while, and he's brilliant.
He's one of the most brilliant piano players I have ever seen. And again, if you listen to our podcast all the time, you heard where one of my top 5 entertainment things for the Disney parks was the piano player at Coke Corner, Refreshment Corner. So again, running across a piano player that could go and play something from Newsies and then play something from Lion King and then play something from Brahms, wow. This guy was amazing.
And those times are actually in the app, so thank goodness for that, because we were able to find a time that was before our dinner reservation time, or our dinner sit-down time. And we were able to go and listen to Matt play in Nightingales. It's very much a piano bar. It feels very
bar.
Upscale. Nightingale is, "Oh, Sing Sweet Nightingale" is the song that Cinderella sings while she's cleaning the floors. And there's the moment in that song where she harmonizes with herself in the bubbles. So this is all about the bubbles.
Lots of champagnes and lots of bubbly drinks, and their signature drink is called The Nightingale.
And I actually did get this one. This drink was like made for me. It's Hendrick's Amazonia, which is gin, and then passion fruit, rosemary, and mint. There's actually a twig of rosemary. Now, here's the caveat. They serve this in a nightingale-shaped glass, so a bird-shaped glass.
It's very cute.
With a glass straw coming out of its butt.
You get to drink out of a bird's
It's
butt.
just wrong. I don't know how else they would have done this.
And it's yellow-colored, so...
I mean, it's just...
Yeah,
but suddenly it doesn't feel as upscale anymore.
But after two of those, you don't care anymore. I'm sucking on a bird's butt. Yay!
Now, we did see another vlogger who experienced this drink, and at the end of telling us about the drink, she said, and you get to keep this cute glass.
Yeah, you don't.
No. Please do not steal the glass.
And lady, if you're listening...
Give it back.
Send them back the glass. That was not part of the $11 or $12 it cost for the glass.
No, it's $20,
Oh,
which
20,
may be why
sorry.
she thought that. But you don't keep the glass.
No, you don't get to keep the cute little nightingale-shaped glass.
It's $20 because you're sitting in a fancy piano bar listening to amazing Matt play amazing music. That's why it's $20.
Good point. A little more kid-friendly is the Bayou, right off of the main lobby area. On deck.
It's actually right across from the Nightingale. So
that's correct.
They're both on deck 3, which is where the main lobby is.
This is a Tiana-themed lounge, but they do shows all day long in here. It has a nice little stage and a nice bar and a lot of seating. So as you're walking down either side, you're going to walk past the Bayou and smell the beignets, which they have, which were okay.
They were biscuits.
They were biscuits.
With powdered sugar.
Yeah.
They were very sad.
They filled the bill, though, for what you were expecting on a cruise ship. I mean, they were not New Orleans beignets, or they weren't even
close.
Disneyland beignets. They were good. It was a good dough, and it was a good powdered sugar. I don't know if there's different brands of that, but overall, it was good.
Now, there is an upcharge for those. It's I believe it breaks down to $1 a piece.
Yeah, they were not. They were not expensive.
And they're like, yeah, $1 a piece, basically.
But the lounge itself is very large, and they do play some jazz music during certain times of the day.
This is also where we did Disney Trivia.
That is correct.
So they do some other events in there as well. But it's very, very pretty as well. It looks like there's vines hanging from the ceiling, and there's the little corner booths that have the fireflies in the stained glass. It's very, very pretty. So the third lounge we want to talk about is the famous Hyperspace Lounge. This is the Star Wars themed lounge that got so much publicity at the beginning that people needed reservations to get in. We do want to mention that you do not need a reservation anymore. We were able to just walk up and go in.
This location moves faster than the ship.
How does it do
Meaning
that?
as you're sitting at the bar, the windows behind the bar will show you a Star Wars planet.
Yeah, you basically dock in the orbit of these other planets. And it changes every 7 minutes.
If you're used to going to Oga's, for instance, at the studios, this is a little more of a bar in that you can actually order drinks.
And it's more upscale. This is if you're on a luxury cruiser. This is not your down-home bar like Oga's is.
That's true. This is not a backwater planet with people that, I don't like you either. They like you here.
They do. Yeah. Our one complaint on this particular lounge is that it is so small.
Yeah. Disney, are you listening? Move the lounge to somewhere a little larger.
No, here's the thing. Next door is a shop that sells watches.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
It's a huge store.
Swap the two.
That sells watches. Because, oh my gosh, it needs to be bigger. It's a great experience. All of the bottles are labeled in Arabesh, which was super fun. So the bartenders actually do have to learn what the bottles are. You have to learn how to read Arabesh. I had one of the best drinks I have ever had. I think I enjoyed it even more than the Nightingale in the Nightingale Lounge. This one was the Spire's Sunset, and it was Batu themed. It consisted of Saigon Begur. I probably said that wrong, but again, it's a gin. Kumquat, lychee, and coconut. And it was only $15, so bargain. It was so good, and the bartender put a little smoke bubble right on top for me. It was very, very cool. So a lot of the drinks have little special gimmicky things that make them space oriented.
I had a space old fashioned. It was good. Space whiskey, you know.
So the only other lounge that we got to experience was the Cove Cafe, which is in the adults only area of the ship.
It was very cozy and quiet, but very slow service. Again, this is not some place you're going to go if you're in a hurry or want a drink in a hurry. You're going to go up there and sit and lounge and luxuriate. The coffee products were great. Again, I had a boozy coffee, and it was fabulous. I would recommend this, again, for the Disney adults that are on the trip and want to be away from the kids. This is the perfect spot to do it.
And it's a lot quieter than you would think a pool bar would be because of that double entrance.
And air-conditioned. The best part about waking up is air conditioning.
That is nice.
With your coffee in your cup.
Also, there are no bakery items at Cove Cafe. I believe the other ships have that.
So join us next week for our next episode of the Epcotian Adventure when we talk more about the Disney Wish. Before we go, I'd like to give a big shout out to our friend Andy at the Palm Springs Linguist for his support and advice. You can find Andy's Disney and Linguist-based blog and podcast on YouTube. And as always, thank you, Phoenicians.
Thank you, Phoenicians.
The Epcotian Adventure is a $1,000 brunch production. A big thanks to our social media coordinator, Riley Piper, audio engineers Joey Humphrey and Paul Trett, graphic designer Evan Piper. Our theme music is by Patrick Rowan and is licensed through Pond 5.
And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, rate, and review. It really does help people find us.
Thanks for joining us today for episode 16 of the Epcotian Adventure. I'm Rod.
And I'm Sue.
And we'll see you in line.
Bye. And I had the Cortiglione. Get that out, please.
Everything with the slow motion.
Trying to read my writing and pronounce the Italian. Okay.